Have you ever felt like you're sprinting with your team, but somehow the finish line keeps moving farther away? Like every ounce of effort you pour in just seems to evaporate before it can produce any real forward motion? That nagging sensation, that creeping exhaustion, isn't just in your head. It's the invisible friction of misalignment, quietly stealing your momentum. Imagine trying to run on a beach with your feet sinking into soft sand, each step costing double the energy and yielding half the progress. How can more effort sometimes feel like less progress? What if the real problem isn't how hard you're pushing, but where everyone is pointing their feet? Consider a team of bright, capable people, each fiercely committed to excellence. They arrive at 9, fueled by caffeine and ambition, ready to conquer to-do lists. Projects get assigned, deadlines loom, and yet at day's end, they look up from their screens as if emerging from a fog. Scores of tasks completed, and still the destination feels hazy. The collective effort is there, but the direction is off. When vision, purpose, and goals fail to align, energy leaks out at every juncture. Every brainstorm becomes a tug-of-war of interpretations. Every decision slows under the weight of uncertainty. What if that lingering frustration isn't just an operational hiccup, but a sign of a deeper misalignment? An unspoken gap stretching from the highest executive floor to the individual contributor's desk. So let's explore that gap. Let's talk about why misalignment isn't just a minor hiccup, but a silent killer of momentum, and why telling people this is the vision doesn't automatically translate into meaningful action. The tale begins with understanding alignment not as a buzzword, but as the precise connection between why you exist, where you're headed, and what each person must do right now to move you closer to that destination. Because when those three lines don't converge, you aren't just off course, you're running in circles. Think of alignment as a multi-layered ecosystem. At the top is purpose, your organization's fundamental reason for being. It's the North Star that should draw people to you when your mission resonates deeply. Gallup research has shown that companies with a strong sense of shared purpose see higher engagement, better retention, and outperform competitors. Yet many companies gloss over this, cramming mission statements onto a slide that no one truly reads. Next is vision, the picture of a future that's compelling enough to light a fire under everyone's daily tasks. If purpose is the why, vision is the vivid what. But all too often, vision remains a blurry photograph, well-intentioned words, but lacking color, depth, or context. And then come goals, the measurable mileposts that should ladder up to that vision. When those goals aren't clearly linked to why you exist and where you want to go, they devolve into checkboxes that feel meaningless. In effect, your people become skilled doers of tasks without any sense of how those tasks matter. It's like asking someone to sweep the floors of a spacecraft without telling them they're helping to land on the moon. Speaking of the moon, let me share a story about a janitor at NASA in the 1960s, an anecdote many of us have heard. On the eve of a major mission, President Kennedy visited NASA headquarters and passed by a janitor mopping the floor. He paused and asked, "What are you doing?" The janitor looked up, mop in hand, and replied, "I'm helping put a man on the moon." Those few words capture the essence of purpose-driven alignment. The janitor wasn't just cleaning floors. He understood how his role, however small, fed into the larger vision, and he felt ownership over that mission. That sense of ownership is exactly what many teams lack today. Thousands of people can be working on the same project, yet if they don't see how their work connects upward, they remain spectators in their own organization.
So why do we end up in this misaligned limbo? Part of it is the illusion that telling them suffices. You hold a town hall, leadership delivers a stirring talk about the mission, and then everyone scuttles back to their desks. But communication isn't a one-way broadcast. It's more like a game of telephone. Imagine you tune into a weak radio station describing a remote mountain retreat. At first, you hear crisp details: snow-capped peaks, pine-scented air, the promise of fresh perspective. But as the signal travels, static creeps in. By the time it reaches a final listener, the retreat transforms into a place. Abstract, distant, lifeless. That's transmission loss. When strategy, vision, and purpose weaken as they pass down through layers of an organization. Neuroscience tells us that for people to truly feel motivated, they need to internalize the why. Simon Sinek's Golden Circle posits that starting with why taps into our limbic brain, the seat of emotional decision-making. It's not enough to give a rational explanation. We need to boost revenue, or we have to cut costs. Those statements activate the thinking brain, not the feeling one. Without engaging the limbic system, where purpose and belonging reside, people might understand the words, yet never feel them. David Rock's SCARF model further explains how our brains crave status, certainty, autonomy, relatedness, and fairness. When managers simply hand down a vision without context, they inadvertently undermine those needs. A team member might think, "Great, another top-down directive. How does this relate to me? What will it mean for my autonomy or my sense of belonging?" And so they tune out. It's even more complex for middle managers. You occupy the space between lofty leadership ambitions and the day-to-day reality on the ground. You hear the big vision, but your job is to translate it into the nitty-gritty: budgets, deadlines, code reviews, deliverables. Your team doesn't have the bandwidth to decode abstract ideas. They need very concrete connections. Without this bridge, they'll focus on their immediate tasks, closing that bug, hitting that number, while the grand strategy becomes a distant echo. Change management theory is packed with cautionary tales. Kotter's work reminds us that without genuine coalition buy-in at every level, transformations sputter and die. So alignment isn't simply about steering from the top, it's about ensuring the strategy survives the descent into daily work. Let's get practical. If you're a middle manager, your superpower is translation. Not like a parrot repeating slogans, but as an interpreter re-expressing purpose in the language of your team's reality. Start every conversation by asking, how does what I'm about to share connect to our team's mission? And don't stop until you can answer it in clear, specific terms. For example, if the company's vision is to become the most customer-centric bank in the region, what does that look like for the software squad you lead? It might mean slashing transaction times or redesigning the user interface so that customers feel they're banking with an old friend, not a faceless institution. That's the "so that" chain exercise. Keep asking "so that" until you reach a tangible, relatable outcome. We need to update the mobile app, so that customers can deposit checks with their phone, so that they save time and money, reinforcing that we understand and care about their lives. That chain creates a living link between the lofty corporate objective and the lines of code your engineers write every day.
Another powerful tool is what I call the North Star filter. For every new project, idea, or request, teach your team to ask, does this choice move us closer to our core team goals and the larger company vision? If not, why are we doing it? This filter becomes a mental model. Every stand-up meeting, every planning session, even every one-on-one should include a moment to check alignment. It's not about rejecting ideas, but about ensuring intentional focus. In practice, this might look like pausing before approving a minor feature that doesn't serve the larger goal, or challenging a stakeholder request by asking them to clarify its connection to the North Star. Over time, this shared habit shifts the culture. People begin to think alignment first rather than task first. Finally, make progress visible. Human beings crave tangible feedback. Teresa Amabile's progress principle reminds us that people are most motivated when they see incremental evidence of forward motion. So every time your team crosses off a milestone, tie it back to the vision. Instead of saying, "Great job shipping version 2.1, say, "Great job shipping version 2.1 because of this feature, our customers will now experience half the wait time, reinforcing our promise of exceptional service." Celebrate not for the sake of celebration, but to connect the dots between effort and impact. When people can narrate how their daily actions ripple outward to the big picture, their engagement deepens, energy spikes, and that feeling of running in sand starts to fade away. Here's the payoff of alignment. Suddenly, decisions become clearer and faster. When a new idea emerges, the question is no longer, should we do it, but does this serve our North Star? That reframing creates a magnetic pull toward the vision. Teams no longer need a manager to micromanage every detail.
They build their own internal compass. You shift from pushing to pulling. You create a gravitational force that draws effort in a unified direction. Imagine what it would feel like if 10% more of your team's energy was perfectly aligned, if each meeting concluded with everyone knowing exactly why their tasks mattered. The friction disappears, people move with purpose, and that collective momentum transforms frustration into fulfillment. So ask yourself, how often do you pause to translate purpose, co-create goals, filter through your North Star, and make progress visible? What would change if you treated alignment not as a corporate mandate, but as a daily discipline? Because alignment isn't a one-time memo, it's a continuous practice, an art even. It's not about compliance, it's about cultivating a shared conviction so potent that it turns exhausting effort into unstoppable momentum. When you master that, you stop running in sand. Instead, you find yourself on firm ground, moving forward as one. Every step resonating with purpose, every action fueling the trajectory toward a future you all believe in.